Welcome back to the Brew House. I got Tony Nazrelli here from the Murray Hill Theater, actually the owner of the Murray Hill Theater right here in Jacksonville, Florida. And we're going to kind of get rolling here and talk about some of the events that he's got coming up, the history, and just the inception of the theater in general. So, Tony, we're glad to have you here today.
Oh, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about the history of the Murray Hill Theater, and just kind of how you got involved with it in the first place.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a cool story. The building was actually built in 1947 as a single-screen movie theater, and it showed movies until 1993. And then for a while, it was like a Gothic club, and that only lasted for about maybe 8 months.
A Gothic club?
A Gothic club, yeah. Very dark, that was in like the mid-90s. Actually, the early 90s. The early 90s. That lasted about 8 months. So, but basically in 1995, I had this idea for an organization and was looking for a place for it, and found that the Murray Hill Theater, the actual building, was now empty. It was dilapidated. And unfortunately, the Murray Hill neighborhood back then was in very rough shape.
Absolutely.
So basically what all that meant is that I was actually able to buy the building for what was a reasonable price. You had a empty, unoccupied, kind of trashed out building in a struggling neighborhood. So I was able to buy the property cheap. And kind of the idea, kind of the mission, if you will, is that we wanted to have a venue that was an all-ages venue that brought in bands that are very positive and faith-based. And we've been doing that for now 21 years. So we are actually the longest running venue, original music venue in Jacksonville that's been in the same location.
So bringing a positive light to an area that typically, didn't have a lot going for it.
It didn't. It was very, very rough. And people thought I was crazy. But now, 21 years later,
absolutely,
if you walk down the streets of Murray Hill, it's really, that was kind of the, maybe a little spark that kind of got the neighborhood going. And there was a lot of other people that came alongside. But it's really helped transform the neighborhood. Now it's
how is the neighborhood now?
Very vibrant, yeah.
So if you go to the Murray Hill Theater, you can expect, a safe environment.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about walking down like a bad back alley.
No, when I bought it, it was literally crack addicts and prostitutes. And then shortly, just because we did some things with lighting and some fencing and some security, that element kind of, I don't think we've solved any problems, but they moved away from Post and Edgewood anyway, and then that kind of helped bring the whole neighborhood around, both commercially and residentially. It's a really cool neighborhood.
So I know you earlier we discussed about the non-alcoholic or the dry venue. What were your reasons? Like, was it a personal draw to have something like that, or was just a reflection of the bands that you were going to have? What were
No, it really was a personal draw. It was as the story goes, when I was 20 years old, I was doing way too much drinking and basically had an encounter with God and made a commitment to my faith and really said, all right, I want to get to know God and start walking the straight and narrow. And I was really struggling, especially with drinking too much. So I was trying to find some place in Jacksonville. This was in 1982, so I'm an old guy. But I was trying to find some place in Jacksonville that I could go and hear live music and hang out and have fun. But basically, whenever I went to a bar, one beer would turn into two, which would turn into three. And so I just decided, I need to have some place where I don't even have that temptation, because I obviously wasn't strong enough to kind of resist. And
absolutely.
So I found a little coffee house on the west side of Jacksonville, and what they did is every Friday night they'd bring in like a Christian rock band. And when I found this little coffee house venue, it was very small and very simple, but it just helped me as a young man have a place to go for music that wasn't a bar. And it just really, it was good for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And years later, I left for college. I worked in Chicago for a couple of years. When I came back, I found out that venue had closed down, and I thought, oh man, that was cool. Somebody ought to do something like that. And I spent 8 years thinking, somebody ought to do something like that. And basically, out of what I consider a calling from God, to be honest, it was at a church retreat that I felt like I had this calling to, hey, why don't you do something like that if you think it helped you and it was a cool idea. So that was my goal, was really to create a venue that was a dry venue, and just a place for people that maybe for whatever reason struggling with alcohol because of their faith or whatever reason they want to go hear live music. They didn't want the smoke, the drugs, the cigarette smoke, the alcohol. So we take, it is a drug-free, smoke-free, alcohol-free venue. But we are open to anybody can come, and there are some establishments up and down the street, so people can certainly go in and and have a drink or something before they come in, and we have the coffee shop right next to it that you can go to, and so it's been a cool thing, and it's lasted the test of time, 21 years now.
So as far as the artists and the musicians that are frequenting the venue and the ones that you're targeting, are they all Christian bands?
They're not all Christian bands, but we do screen them, and they are all positive bands.
Okay.
We look at their lyrics and what they're all about. So there is kind of a thematic thing that we say, all right, as long as they're about positivity and that kind of stuff. So we brought in, I mean, some of the bands are crossover bands. One of the big ones that we've enjoyed having through the years is Switchfoot, and they've made it really big, and they've come back to the Murray Hill Theater even when they were a bigger band.
Nice.
POD was one of those bands, but we've done Matt Carney, Johnnyswim, Dina Carter. We do, I mean, very diverse musically, very as far as styles of music, and but we do bring in just about every faith-based, every Christian band that wants to come. We try to give them a stage, but we also provide a stage for those artists that are just making good, good music that's focusing on the positive and the good stuff.
So it's an all ages venue.
It is all
family
ages.
friendly at every show.
Yep.
Awesome. I guess the next question is, if you're an artist in Jacksonville or a local artist, do you guys do anything specific for these, to help promote them or to help give them a shot, maybe give them a show? Like, how would they reach out and contact you if they wanted to?
Yeah, of course we have it all on our webpage at murrayhilltheater.com,
Okay.
and it has a booking section, and it has some of the criteria. And but we've given a lot of bands, shots. It's their first, a lot of bands, it's the first time they play, and it's really interesting because usually the first time a band plays, they play through their set like double the speed, really fast. That's just something I've noticed. And then as they get more comfortable, so so there's been quite a few local bands that have, in fact, Johnnyswim. I don't know if you're familiar with Johnnyswim, but Abner Ramirez is one of the guys.
Okay.
It's a husband and wife team, and they're in California now. But he went to DA, and he played through his high school years all the time at the Murray Hill Theater, and then he went to Nashville and then L.A. And when we brought them in, that was just kind of cool. And he's one of those positive artists that it was kind of cool seeing him develop from a high school kid and now make it big. There's a few others that are kind of on the verge of breaking. A guy named Corey Kilgannon who's in Nashville now. And then there are a lot of artists, and a lot of local artists that have just really been grateful that they have a venue. And what's really fun is having high school bands that that some venues, there might be some venues they're not even old enough to get into, to play. So we actually have one band coming in the next couple days that is, it's three sisters, and they're all from this sounds funny, but they're from the ages of 14 to 17, and believe it or not, but they have a metal band. And it's like, it's kind of, but they're very gifted musicians, and they're really fun on stage, but it's like three young girls and anyway.
Very unique setup.
Yeah, very unique. So.
As well, wrapping things up, is there any, any big events coming up, anything you want the audience to know about what's happening in the near future?
Yeah, May 20th. 2016,
Okay.
We have former American Idol finalist Tiana Jones. She was on the 2015 season of American Idol.
Very cool.
She was the young girl from Jacksonville that made it to the finals. It was big news. She's a really great artist, huge voice, just really, really fun in concert. So we're having her on May 20th, and it's a special kind of fundraising VIP event for the theater. There's like a VIP ticket, and then there's a regular ticket, but that's going to be fun. Tiana Jones. We have some of the bigger Christian rappers are coming. There's a rapper named Tadashi that's on the schedule. We have quite a few other pending shows, a lot of local bands. And we try to be there either every Friday and Saturday night or at least one Friday or Saturday night each weekend.
Nice.
So we do about 80 to 100 shows a year.
That's great. And it's great that you're adding that element and that outlet to the community to go and hang out at a spot that it doesn't necessarily promote what the typical aspects of a show or music would involve. So, thank you for bringing that to Jacksonville, and thank you for continuing your service. And tune in for more, and visit thebuzz.com, and check out the Murray Hill Theater. They got a good show coming up.
MurrayHillTheater.com.
MurrayHillTheater.com. You heard it. Thanks for showing up.